Hey Bonehawks, this video is all about the STB podcast. We are back, myself with my teammates, Kompetitor, and on the podcast for the first time, Wideturn. Fantastic Jackie player in Mortal Kombat 11. We're going to talk about the new game mechanics that are coming to Mortal Kombat 1, our experiences with them in the beta, just general thoughts. So we're going to go through them here. Yeah, I'll put some little timestamps if you want to hear our opinions on a certain one and skip around a bit. So, that being said, enjoy the podcast.
Accept your death.
So, the first thing that I wanted to start off with is the movement in the game. There was, in the original stress test, there wasn't really like dash blocking or anything like that, and they seem to have added that into the beta. I just kind of want your thoughts on like movement overall. What you thought. Kompetitor, we'll go with you first. What did you like that change? Did you not like that change? What'd you think?
I feel like that change was necessary for the game to play smooth. Just from watching the gameplay from the stress test, it looked really slow. It looked like almost injustice, like the way, you had to commit to dashes or just walking. But after playing the closed beta, the movement feels like a weird hybrid of like MK9 dash blocking with MK11. I don't want to quite compare it to just say it's like MK11 because, some characters weren't gifted in that game with the same
Baraka.
movement as, yeah. But, like, if you played, like, Johnny, Liu Kang, Fujin, in MK11, the movement will feel a lot like they're wave dashing. So I love the change. It sped up the gameplay. Like I said, the first, like, day or two, I found myself just kind of walking a lot or like, just slowly dash blocking in. But then, by day 3, I'm wave dashing halfway across the screen to whiff punish things. The game's gonna play really fast. I already saw some of it at high level. So anyone concerned about the game feeling or looking sluggish, once you get your hands on the movement and people get a little bit more used to the game, it's gonna play a lot faster.
Yeah, that's kind of what I saw too. Is it was it was super fast game. Like definitely compared to the stress test as well. Wideturn, do you have thoughts on the? I don't know if you played the stress test and the beta. If you got to feel the difference, or if you just played the closed beta.
Yeah, I didn't play the stress test. I just played um, the the beta that just came out. But I think one thing that's interesting about the movement is I think with like NRS animations, like if you're kind of spectating and watching, they do feel slow. But like when I was playing the last beta that came out, it did feel pretty fast. Um, it felt almost faster than MK11. Like I like had to like recalibrate what I was used to doing in MK11 to MK1 because it felt so much faster in a good way though. But it is kind of interesting. I've heard, and you guys, I didn't play the stress test, but you guys let me know. But you can cancel strings now, or I'm sorry, you can cancel your um your dashes with a button press. So like in Justice, right? You had to commit entirely to the dashing
Yeah,
because it wasn't cancelable, right? So um apparently it was just you originally you could just dash and then block to cancel, but now you can block to cancel it or you can start with a string to cancel it. And as soon as I kind of like discovered that it felt super fluid. And I've heard this in the past, but some people don't really like that. I guess it's kind of a mixed bag because when you play footsies with somebody, um, it's like you understand the distance between the two. Like as you're kind of interacting with your opponent, you understand the distance of what their moves can do after putting in hundreds of hours or labbing characters. So like if somebody has a really big neutral button, if you're really good with your hands and like your hand-eye coordination, you could dash really fast and press a button, and it kind of makes the distance of that button a little elusive, right? So I
true.
have heard people talk about that, where like in Injustice, it made it a little bit more like you have to like as you're kind of playing footsies with your opponent, you have to kind of measure them because if you just dash in, like crazy, you could get checked, right? So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see that departure from like their previous titles.
Yeah, and I'm definitely in the class of not being a huge fan of it because I feel like the same way. Like I like kind of walking back and forth and like walking in and maybe baiting something and walking in and walking back and then whiff punishing, that kind of thing, you know? And I
Right.
found like the stress test movement was fine, but in that build you could cancel your dash into anything but block, if I remember correctly. And then in the
Okay.
beta build, they added that ability to be able to dash block. So, which a lot of people liked, and I'm whatever the majority is happy with, I can adapt either way. It's not like a make or break thing for me, kind of thing. But I do kind of enjoy the kind of walking back and forth and stalking down the opponent kind of a thing. So,
Yeah, I think for this game, it's interesting that they went with being able to cancel your dash any way you want, block or jab or whatever button, because it's kind of interesting that MK11 didn't have it was supposed to be the premier kind of footsies NRS title, but I did feel like it like made those buttons kind of like it kind of obscures the distance that they could reach, and it felt less of like playing footsies than Injustice did, even though Injustice had like tons of zoning.
Yeah,
Um,
you played Jackie though. You could just dash punch anywhere.
um, yeah. I mean, when I competed, I like when I like was actively competing before COVID. I actually really like fuck neutral characters, um, but I ended up like playing Nightwolf and Terminator and a couple other characters that were less like that in the later half of the game.
okay,
But
Terminator is the ultimate fuck neutral character. He literally just runs at you.
Yup.
yeah, that's true.
I know what you mean. There's just so many characters like for how that game was built. Like it totally, I'm with you. It totally felt like they wanted to do like that footsies and spacing kind of game, but then they just gave too many characters too many ways around it, and it didn't really end up kind of being that way.
Cabal.
Yeah, Cabal, Joker was another one. Like
Yeah,
Kodal with
Joker's
how we were
insane.
talking about dash moves. Kodal with his dash forward too. That just hits full screen.
yeah,
So
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean that and also why was why were there some characters like Fujin who just had insane like like speeds and cancel speeds and startup speeds through their dash.
Yeah,
I don't it felt
yeah,
super weird to me
yeah.
that it was
Like
that crazy.
Fujin was like in a class of his own though, because like even like Fujin versus Liu Kang, which Liu has a pretty good wave dash, Liu can't catch up to him. Like Fujin does back 1-1, back dash or like down one back dash, and then you go wave dash across the screen, do whatever he wants, fly away. Like he was the most free movement character in that game for sure.
yeah, he was playing a
Like
totally different game. He was not
yeah,
playing
that's
MK11.
and that's why you see Fujin mirrors in every grand finals, in the
Yeah,
last
that's
year. I mean, I think he's a hype character, but he was the
Oversaturated.
cabal. He was the MK9 cabal of that game, basically.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. And
I mean,
like totally when I was playing the beta, I found it kind of actually hard to approach. Like I wasn't really sure what button, and it could have just been a Lee May thing because I'm not sure if y'all felt the same way. But I found that like it didn't have great whiff punishing buttons outside of things that you needed to like hard commit to, like her like flying knee thing.
yeah, I kind of felt that way about Johnny because coming from MK11, MKX's forward three and stuff would reach really far, but this time around it's a lot more like MK9's Johnny, where his forward three is kind of stubby. So one thing I did have trouble with, I mentioned in the prior podcast, is whiff punishing with him because his buttons are so stubby. But however, day three and the morning day four of the beta, I found myself being able to just react and like wave dash into whiff punish things a lot quicker, and I feel like it's just gonna be like a kind of like a muscle memory thing, doing that rather than us being used to using a long button to whiff punish things. Or who knows, maybe cameos might play a factor and use your
yeah.
cameo to whiff punish things further away or start a combo or something.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking too. Is like because there were so many things that I did on the last day of the beta that I was like, oh, well, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Like, I definitely wasn't using my cameo enough or in enough different situations. Like, I could have been using like Kano knives to kind of keep some strings safe or something like that, or enhance something, or spacing to move in or something. And things clicked more after by the time that the beta was over, which made me want the game even more.
Yep, I felt that too. I saw Ninja Killa doing like a long block string with Johnny into the Kano ball to cover the rising uppercut being unsafe, like just for pressure. I'm just like, why the hell wasn't I doing that? So like I can't wait to get my hands on the game. But
Totally.
It's going to be sick. So, yeah, so that's the changes to the movement. This one was one that I was particularly interested in because I just used it once by accident and it worked out really well. So then I started using it for the rest of the beta, was the Upblock, which, by the way, anti-airs in general, they're back in this game. So if you like to be airborne, womp womp, sorry, I don't think it's going to work out as well. Unless, of course, there's cameos specifically for airborne characters. I don't know. Either way, the uplock mechanic made it like super easy, full combo punish almost every time. I did experience the downside to that though, which if they make a hard read on your upblock and empty jump throw, they get increased damage on their throw. Like the one time I got hit, it was like 21%. But I saw like, yeah, like it increases that throw if you get the punish. I saw someone do it with the Jax, cameo, and it did like almost 40% because of his command grab. Like that, that's some craziness. So that's like kind of like the I don't know, the counterplay to that. Did you mess around with that at all, Wideturn? What was your thoughts on the uplock?
Yeah, I don't know. I think people like I don't know if my perspective on this is different, but then other people play. But I don't think I think it's great for like not needing a meter to use armor in between strings that have overheads. There's probably ways you can kind of fuzzy into it. It's gonna be really interesting to lab some of those moments, in gaps of strings. But as far as jump ins, if someone telegraphs it, you said on read or whatever. You can read like you can jump and in your arc in your jump arc like see that someone like move back and just don't press a button. Like it depends on how they telegraph it. Like if you do it too early, but if you do it too late, you might not get it. I someone tried to do it as I was playing and I saw it and I literally empty jumped and just grabbed them and it did like 20%. So I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know. I mean, like there's still standing buttons. I don't know about Lee May. Honestly, I didn't see any Lee Mays like use a standing button, like like S1 or something to anti-air. I feel like the hitbox was like a little different. It's not like universal, right? It's like each character's gonna have a little bit of a different hitbox on their like neutral buttons, but at least for Sub-Zero's standing 2, I was anti-airing everything with.
Yeah, Lee May's standing 1 worked a couple times for me, but it got hard beat by jump in kicks. So that's when I started using the uplock. But it worked fine against like jump punches and stuff like that. What were Johnny's anti-airs like, Pompey?
So fun fact, I didn't really use up block at all for anti-airs because Johnny's stand 1 is so good. Like,
right.
I hate making the callback, but I've been playing a lot of MK9 lately, and his stand 1, I'm just jabbing people out of the air. You want to jump kick? I'm gonna dash up stand 1. You want to try to jump punch?
Right.
No, I'm gonna stand 1 your cross up. It's over. You cannot be in the skies. I am like an anti-air turret. You can't jump on me, right? But I do want to say about Upblock, something that I found interesting that I didn't record footage of because I did it like just testing things on the last day of the beta. So there are strings, obviously there are huge gaps in them, and I swear I flawless blocked. So I'm going to talk about specifically during a Johnny mirror. Johnny Cage's forward 3-4 is a mid into overhead string, and there's like a big gap in it. I'm pretty sure you could poke out, but regardless, someone's flawless blocked the second hit of the string, and I don't know if it made it punishable because I don't think they pressed or whatever. However, Johnny did forward 4-3 to or forward 3-4 to me, and I up blocked the second hit, and it made it completely punishable when it's normally safe. And
That's crazy.
I don't know if the flawless block had the same frame data because I didn't notice it when I scrolled through all his frame data to see what everything is on flawless block, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I think it was still only -5 or something. But it was interesting that the up block made the overhead second hit completely full combo punishable.
Yep.
So it's going to be neat to see, like, are you going to be punishing gaps with it? But then, that comes into the cool flawless block territory, like from MK11, where, the non-mix up, where now you have a stronger string stagger
Right.
because, they're going to try to up block, and then that opens them up for huge damage if you don't do it. So I'm excited for that once more people figure out about that mechanic. And who knows, that might change day one. We're playing an old build, things might change, but I just thought up block was really neat to use against overheads and gaps and strings.
Yeah, totally. And until I talked to you, I didn't even think about doing that. And then, like, oh yeah, there was a couple times where I could have got a Johnny with just the up block on the overhead. So I think that will, because you're right. Like when I was looking through my frame data, and of course we're talking about beta frame data here, so like take this with a grain of salt. It's like I didn't really see anything that was that much different on flawless block. I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember being like, okay, I definitely don't want to do that string, and hoping it doesn't get flawless blocked or whatever. So
Yeah, no, it everything seemed like it was still almost the same frame data. I think the flawless block is more so just it's just gonna negate chip damage. So I mean, I like that because that was one thing about MK11 that I love the flawless block mechanic to negate all chip damage or
yeah,
minimize it,
I
whatever, because
agree.
it makes it more hype, in those intense scenarios when you're flawless blocking every projectile that would be killing you on block. So I really like that they kept that around.
Yeah, it's a good mechanic, and in my opinion, it rewards good gameplay. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of all for that. So going off of that, kind of going into the wake up game, like I was hitting so many people with my wake up armored move, and like I don't know why that was working as well as it was, but no one was respecting wake ups. I don't know, like why turn did you? What was the wake up game like with Sub Zero? Because like, what was his slide?
Yeah. Um, it was the slide, right? And it like side switched on the EX version of it. I don't know, wake ups in this game, to me personally, like this is one of those games where there's like a lot of damage, and having not having like that many wake up options or even a tech roll or like something, it makes it very like flip of a coin. And then a lot of characters have some form of mix. So, you give them one kind of thing they can do where it's a little bit like a flip of a coin. It's like you armor or you don't armor, right?
Right.
If we're talking about just like meeting somebody on Oki. Um, if you have a character that has a mix up with a, you know, with a cameo or just, I don't know, Sub Zero, or like maybe there's just a mix up in a string, um, you're kind of removing the amount of time you interact with your opponent. So, I feel like we'll see a lot of like steamroll rounds. And some people like, obviously people love to see big combos and it's fun to watch and like, from a spectator point of view, but I think like as I'm playing, I wish I could outsmart somebody with like, if they roll, I grab. If they I'm gonna refer to MK11, but if they up three, then I'll meaty, and it's like you can kind of think about your interaction with your opponent and outsmart them and outplay them. But when it's kind of like a flip of a coin and everyone does like insane amount of damage, it's to me I'm like a little bit scared of wake ups in this game, not having another like defensive kind of tool. Um, I have heard in the combat cast them talk about using cameos for wake ups,
Yep.
but it's still an armored move or not an armored move. It's not like some kind of additional layer. So I don't know if anyone has opinion here on that, but it's just
Yeah,
something
I do have an opinion. I'm just gonna give it over to competitor here first before I throw my thoughts out. What do you think on wake ups there, competitor?
I love it because it reminds me of MKX wake ups. And my biggest gripe with MK11 was the wake up system because meaties were non-existent in that game. Your meaty was a down one. Your
Right.
meaty was literally you down one somebody. It was boring as shit. It was either you down one to cover being safe if they roll forward or backwards. There were too many wake up options that you got for free in that game. And then there were the invincible up threes, and then some characters could combo off them, if you were airborne, whatever. And up twos were pretty useless across the board. But that's wake up buttons were so strong in that game, it was ridiculous. Like I'd say I have like a 90% hit rate with wake up 1, 2, 3 with Liu Kang. It was insane.
Yeah.
Because the only meaties in that game were down ones. So this goes back to like MKX, using armor for wake ups. I really like that because you have to manage your resources. You have to be like, should I break her out of this combo or should I just take the damage so I have a chance to wake up or armor through a string? Because that's the thing people also aren't considering is you don't have to wake up. You could just hold a block string and, armor through the gap.
Ah, true.
Um,
True.
and then also I didn't use the cameos as a wake up because I didn't know that was a thing. But I think I saw Silver Eye talking about it on Twitter, and like the characters had a different animation, I guess, specifically for the wake up attack. So that way you don't need to use meter to wake up. You can use your cameo. So
Which is cool.
if your character's not as meter dependent, or that's like if you breakered and you have no meter, you still have a wake up option. Because I think you should be punished if you're making the wrong reads and stuff like that. You shouldn't just get free meter build, for doing nothing and then be able to wake up and rob people all day. Because like, don't get me wrong, wake up buttons are still a thing. I was waking up buttons and it was working and whatnot, but I like the variety now on knockdown. It's back to like like any other fighting game, like Street Fighter and stuff. It's MK11 just made everything like, it was like Fisher Price wake up systems, like baby's first fighting game. Like, I don't know.
Sure,
Like,
price.
yeah, it's like you don't have to
think-
live with bad
Yeah.
decisions or, getting punished. You get free meter, you get free options every time.
Yeah, in theory, like what you're saying, like I totally agree with. Like, especially with down one is sometimes like the only viable thing you can do. Um, but there was some weird, funky, meaty stuff with MK11 that like I actually think what they wanted to achieve, which with having the different wake up systems, doesn't work because the either up three, jump, or press buttons. Like the timing of Oki was super funky in that game. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I like the idea of an RPS system for wake up, like rock paper scissors shoot. But you could kind of like just get away with so many weird things in MK11.
Yeah, I
It didn't
felt.
like
Sorry, I cut you off there. I felt that. I felt that I'm kind of in the middle because like I feel like they could have just taken away one defensive option in MK11 and that would have been fine. There was just like way too many for the defender to the point where like why would I knock my opponent down? Like if I have
Exactly.
a move that keeps them standing, but then most of the moves that kept them standing wasn't plus enough to do anything with. So it was like, okay,
yeah.
And then you got flawless block reversaled when you tried to restand them and do something.
yeah, flawless
But
block on hit
I
was
don't.
dumb.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I don't know if I agree with like when you knock someone down, just like having the power to just like I think that the person who gets knocked down should have the options. It should be hard for somebody to do Oki to a degree because then people just are like I just want damage. I just want to steamroll. Why can't I steamroll?
Right.
I mean, they
So
do though. You'll have armor or a cameo wake up though, or
well,
delay
that's what
wake up still.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like I wish for wake ups there was like there was more than just like a coin flip of a maybe you can just armor. Actually, I didn't try this, but armoring back like on someone's wake up is like interesting as well, and maybe that will add. I mean, we only had a couple days on the beta, but maybe that will add some layers because like if you wake up with an armor move and then I wait a split second and armor back, um, almost like a justice where it's like back three, like the last person to
Yeah.
do it wins. Like maybe you'll be able to like do that and then use your cameo. So if you're like Sub-Zero, launch them in the air, use Sonya, and like you know what I mean. So that might be interesting. So I think that's
I didn't actually
I
think about that, but you're right.
I do
yeah.
want to note also, it seemed like every wake up was punishable.
That's where I was going to
Sub-Zero
go next.
slide,
Yeah,
shadow kick, nut punch, whatever, the
Lee May's
flying kick.
flying knee, like
Yeah,
you
But
definitely
what
get punished for them. Because
I
I
guess we
don't.
don't really know though with cameos to like ambush, right?
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't think you can ambush um out of hit stun. I don't believe anyway.
No, no, not out of hit stun.
So you
At least
couldn't.
not in the beta.
Yeah, so you couldn't really do it like to cover your wake up kind of a thing. At least in the
Mm,
build we played, which would be pretty crazy.
yeah, I agree. I
But
didn't play a character that had that, but yeah.
yeah, and like I don't, from what I understand, not every cameo has a wake up attack. I think because they mentioned that Serena has invincible wake up attack. They didn't say that about the other cameos unless I missed it. So I don't know if
Um,
if like having a cameo with a wake up attack would be a thing, just to kind of maybe your character doesn't have the best wake up. So that's
right.
I'm not really sure. I don't remember them saying that every cameo has a wake up.
Yeah, for sure. I think Frost might have heard like Ice Spike might have. I can't. There was one other character I can't remember, but yeah, it's. I guess it's something you choose depending on what your personal, you know, kit is on the character you play. Just kind of like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, like they were
Mhm.
mentioning, pick a cameo to cover your weaknesses, right? Or enhance your strengths, however you want to do it.
Yep.
To me. And then going off of that kind of, we basically talked about it anyways, but the armor in this, to be honest, I'm like super happy armor's back. It just feels so good to like have the knowledge that there's a gap in that string and just be like armor, and then see the reaction like whoa, and then see how they adapt to like using that string again. I don't know.
Right.
It's been a while since I've had armor because played Quan Chi and MKX,
Yeah, you
who
didn't even have
I
armor.
didn't
Come
even
on,
have
you really
armor.
didn't.
I really didn't. And then even Firestorm in Injustice 2, like it was kind of hard commit with his wake up. So
Mhm.
it's kind of nice to have that option back. I don't know, Wideturn, if you have any opinions on armor at all, or
I think yeah, it's gonna be interesting because like Shao Kahn, so they say. I mean, who knows in the fine? I mean, there's Combat Cast stuff has
it's all
changed since.
speculation.
Yeah, all speculation. But as far as what we saw in Combat Cast for like Shao Kahn having an armored launcher, I mean, I think this game's a little on the loose side as far as like how people get launched. Like you could, I guess, like Sub Zero, for example, does technically have an armored launcher if you play Sonya and do a slide into,
Yep, I saw
Sonya's
that.
air.
Yep. And Johnny
So
with Kano.
yeah, I'm just worried about like Shao Kahn has the well. I mean, I don't I don't know if worried's the word because I want to play him, but um, he's got like the plus launcher, and then he has the other option, which is the armored launcher, and that's to me just hearing that is scary. But other than that, I like really I really like the idea of armor coming back, especially for like between strings and people finding their own tech as they play in certain situations against cameos, maybe like, there's a gap between said cameo button follow up by, said character into string. You could like maybe interrupt it with certain timing. So like that stuff's gonna be cool to like lab and figure out to use against your opponents. Like, I think.
Yeah, the armored launchers definitely concern me a little bit, but I guess we'll see kind of how strong slash weak they are once the game comes out, and who knows how many there will be, or maybe that was an oversight that they're like, oh, actually, we didn't want you to be able to do that. Let's take that out for the final build, kind of a thing.
Yep.
Kind of tough to say where they're gonna go with that. Air combat is another thing that's returning for the first time in almost 20 years. That was crazy. It was so I had a lot of fun just up in the air, just like learning these different combos and like comboing into like my enhanced projectile, landing on the lantern, and then like doing another lantern, and like that stuff was like so fun. And I don't even think Lee May is like the craziest character in the air. It's just like what kind of strings was Johnny to me? Like just in general feels like should be a grounded character, but does he have like any juice in the air?
Not really. Because Johnny is, they designed him as a grounded character. I didn't find anything particular with his air combos. I was kind of messing around with the Sonya cameos, but his strings didn't really lead to anything. The only thing is, he could if you EX his rising uppercut, then he's in the air and you could do an air string, but most of the time you just do a jump kick into whatever. His strings don't lead to anything. But playing with Sub-Zero a little bit, it was cool doing some of the bounce combos, like you pop someone up, bounce them, then do like 1-1 into his ice dive kick and combo there. It's pretty neat. Cool callback to MK Armageddon. Liu Kang though, I did dabble in some Liu Kang in the beta,
Of
and
course you did.
he had some very interesting air combos. Like I was using the Kano cameo to do some crazy shit, like back 2-3 pop up, and then do like I think it was 1-3-2 for his air string into his air fireballs, and then using the Kano knives, and it would catch him, and then
Yeah.
you could either do instant air fireballs again or do his full screen flying kick. So like there was some really cool combo potential there. But I'm really excited to get my hands on Kung Lao and Scorpion, just because from like the bits and scraps of gameplay we've seen from them, Scorpion's air combos look crazy with the spear recapture and everything.
Yeah, he looked
So
cracked.
yeah, so that's gonna be sick. And then Kung Lao, I already know there's gonna be some sauce with dive kicks and everything like that. So, I'm looking forward to see what other characters can do, because Johnny obviously isn't gonna be too swaggy in the air, but like Sub-Zero with the rebounds and stuff like that, it's gonna be sick to see.
Wideturn, what was your experience with the air combat like? I know you played a couple characters.
Um, I mean, I love I love air stuff. I mean, like I played I played
Yeah, the
Jackie, but I also
Jackie man.
I also played Cheetah, a little bit lower tier, but still like, absolutely crazy stuff in the air with like the leap into like grab down or leap into cross up and stuff like that. So I mean, obviously there's no cross ups in Mortal Kombat, this is a block button, but um I like that stuff. So I can't wait to lab. Like even Tanya's like air stuff looked really interesting in one of the trailers. So hopefully, there'll be some layers with some characters where you could like, do a couple things in the air and then maybe throw them back up and continue to do them in the air, and then decide if you want to like hit them on one side or the other to like maybe confuse them or something like that. Um, I would love to see layers, yeah, with it. But playing Sub-Zero was, super fun to kind of do his dive into like continued combo. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, definitely excited to see some of the more air focused characters. Like I said, Johnny felt like a more grounded character, but like maybe Scorpion is like more in the air than he is on the ground, that kind of thing. And that would be really cool to see, especially with some of the cameos we've already been able to use, what kind of stuff you can kind of pull out there and whatnot. But I found with Lee May, she really only had like one string to use in the air, but like I mean, it was really swaggy because her special moves really like complemented it.
Like the lanterns and stuff. I've
Yeah,
seen
the
some crazy
lantern and
stuff.
like the EX like
Mm.
air projectile was pretty cool. But then she had like two air strings, and the second air string I just could not find a use for. Like it did less damage almost every time, and it didn't really do anything. So I just hope we don't get a lot of that kind of stuff where it's like they give us stuff that's not being able to be used. If that makes sense. I feel like there's a lot of that with abilities in MK11.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's a lot of cameos that we haven't had our hands on either that may be able to do some cool combo extensions off of certain things or provide utility. So,
Yeah. Do you guys think the meta of air to air is going to change knowing that there's air combos and air combat? Like, as in, like, instead
ooh.
of just pressing standing one, am I going to like prioritize jumping to beat them so that I can do potentially more damage with certain characters? That's kind of like what I was
And
thinking about.
yeah,
Like,
I never really gave that much thought, but you're right. That could be totally an option. Instead of even standing one anti-air, I just jump, meet you in the air because I'm reading your jump anyways, and then
Yeah.
full combo punish from the air.
Yeah, if you have like a bounce like Sub-Zero's jump
yeah,
1-2, jump 1-2 leads to a bounce combo, that's going to be a lot more beneficial than Johnny winning an air to air because he can't
right.
do anything. And then cameos play a factor in that too. Do you have a Sonya cameo or a Jax that can snatch you out of the air and continue it? So that's
That's gonna
actually,
be
I didn't even think about air to airs.
Yeah,
Man,
I might start changing. Like Injustice, I feel like I did a lot of like jump air to airs, and the arcs in
Yeah,
this game are huge. Like the jump arcs are huge. You
oh
could
yeah,
like
they're big.
you see it. You could just instant like if you're on the defending side, you can just jump real quick with a standing button, big air combat combo into a bounce.
So moving on from that, returning to Mortal Kombat is the Combo Breaker, and I definitely forgot about it for the first like few hours that I was playing. And I was just like taking damage because I'm just like so used to trying to break away, even though I'm so glad that mechanic is gone. Fuck that mechanic. Compy, what did you think? What like the big thing is that it takes like 3 bars, right? And in the beta, which is interesting because it's different from the stress test, I didn't really see it have the same effect on your cameo that it did in the stress test, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember in the stress test, if you had to have your cameo for breaker, right? And it used it. I don't remember if it used half of it or the whole thing. But now you needed to have like your cameo charge, but it didn't use it. It's the same thing like with a throw, right? Like the forward throw, like you needed
Yeah.
to have at least half a cameo, but it didn't use it to do the forward throw. So that's
Right.
what I noticed. But other than that, like I'm glad breakers are back because this game's gonna be crazy. You know, people
Yeah.
wanted big combos. We're getting big combos. I love it. It's crazy. But you know, I love that that's the defensive option instead of that half-assed breakaway. Because I can't tell you how many times I've broken out of combos and robbed people. It's
Yeah, totally.
yeah, but you know, people are concerned that it costs 3 bars versus 2 bars and things like that. But what you have to remember is, yeah, while you may use your, you know, breaker, and granted, you know, this could all change on release with the patch, but you know, if you use your breaker, you're using your 3 bars, but you'll still have your cameos as an option for wake ups. You could still delay wake up, things like that. But 3 bars in that game, I was never really running out of meter. Like you build it for hits on block, doing special moves, you know, hitting people. Like you build meter pretty fast in that game. And the cameos I felt, you know, refilled pretty quick too. So like I never felt like using a breaker was an absolute detriment. Like, you know, it does use a lot of resources, but you know, with cameos and stuff, you can still combo meterless, things like that. So it's just something to add to your strategy and based on your character
Yeah,
to factor in.
and that's kind of how I felt about it too, is like you just it seems expensive when you look at it on paper, but like in practice you just build your meter back like so fast that it's like, oh, I have combo breaker again. Okay, sweet. So I
Yeah,
didn't.
so take that risk, go for the 50-50, fuck it.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna build it back soon enough, anyways. Wideturn, your thoughts on combo breaker?
Um, I like it. I always wanted like NRS to do something where like maybe there was some kind of wager or something because like you have different like character archetypes, right? You have someone who's gonna be rushed down, someone who's gonna be a zoner. I always wish they figured out a way to like adjust whatever your breaker was, to kind of like maybe you can wager or something similar to like Injustice, but like the wager is for positioning. Um,
Well, that's
but
interesting.
aside from that, like I definitely think it's better than MK11. Definitely better.
Yeah, like quite
Yeah.
honestly, they could just shove a stick up your ass and just call you a bitch, and that'd just be better than fucking breakaway, to be
Yeah.
honest. But
I'll just wake up down 2 crushing blow, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that they went that route. They didn't bring the breakaway back. I know they had similar kind of thing in Injustice. I don't know. I feel like the wager system was just too injusticey, you know. But I like what you're saying about having it be for positioning. That's interesting.
I'm spending all my meter to put you in the corner. I don't care.
I mean, Lee May just has to spend a bar basically, and you're there. So flies across the
Yeah.
screen and punches you into the corner.
True.
I wish there was like push block or something. I don't know. I just defensively like this game's gonna be. I don't know. Maybe we'll just see how it plays out, and we'll see how it goes. But
They do have
uh,
last breath returns. I actually don't have that on my thing, but yeah, I don't know if either of you
oh
experienced it, but yeah, the
no.
last breath did return.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys check on my YouTube channel, I have an awesome comeback where Last Breath actually saved me.
Oh,
So,
little plug
Yeah.
shameless
there.
plug. That
Love
will
it.
be in the description.
Link in the description. I got it. So yeah, actually, so I remember seeing that for the first time. I don't remember seeing it in the stress test, so I don't know if I just didn't experience it or if they added it later. But I remember seeing it in the beta and thinking, like, okay, that's cool. That's returning. It just takes your super meter. So as long as you have super meter, then you can survive
Yeah.
a little bit, anyways. So
What or flawless block also prevents chip, right? For just projectiles or for everything else? Probably
I think
everything
it's
else.
for. I would be surprised if it wasn't for everything because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that just kind of makes sense. So between like flawless block and last breath, that could make for some pretty hype comebacks or at least like
Yeah.
back to the corner type situations.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I had a pretty good comeback against a Liu Kang player where I just flawless blocked like 3 projectiles with like a single digit of health and ended up winning the round. So I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty crazy.
I found, and again, maybe this is just me, but I found like there were a lot of matches where like it came down to like the last hit, and that last hit just seemed to like play out for such a long time. I maybe those were the factors involved in that. I just didn't clue into it, but
Hmm.
could be.
Um, Also, we speaking of combo breakers, man, you could you could break fatal blows.
Oh yeah.
Like that's crazy.
That's yeah, that's. I mean, well, we have to talk about fatal blows in a second too because that's a whole different thing. But like being able to break fatal blows are pretty nuts. Although unless they change it, like it's still like MK11 where like you can just throw it out there and then it just kind of comes back over time.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm aware, so like I don't mind the idea. I can't say I like it because I don't like it, but I don't dislike it enough to be like, oh man, fatal blows are back, blah blah blah. It's like it's just another tool. I just wish that you'd be able to just like use it once, that's your thing, and then it's gone. I hate that you just wait around and like, what if you spend all your meter to break it, and then they're just kind of like footsies and spacing and cameos, and now it's back, and then bam, here I'm hitting you with it again. And it's like, I'd be very salty about that.
Yeah, and I think the reason they can't just make it one-time use is because the unique mechanics surrounding it. Obviously, Johnny Cage's, he could cancel it, he could hold it, crazy shit like that. I I think it would be more fair if you could only use your fatal blow once, but then that also sucks if they break it, type thing. So, I don't know, double-edged sword. I'm just glad you can break it after startup, like that initial startup hit. You get the startup animation, and you could break it the first hit after before it goes into the cinematic. I think that's a great idea, just to mitigate the BS that was in MK11.
I know
So
it.
if you do get surprised by it, you can still break it
Yeah, at
if you
least
have the resource.
you have options. And then like, I don't know about you, Wideturn, but I 100% got hit by that full fucking Johnny Cage unblockable fatal blow.
Yeah.
Like I just stood there and I'm like, what an idiot! This guy's just gonna hold it. I'm gonna whiff punish him, and then just bam! I'm like, what?
Yes. The first time I saw it, I like just stood there for like 5 seconds and then literally let go of the block button and I got smacked. So I was like, okay. So after that, I just back up and did ice ball.
Oh,
Literally
that's smart.
Yeah,
with
because
Sub-Zero. Never got hit by it again, tell you that.
so we'll parry jump-ins right now too. So
Oh, really? Because
yeah,
I thought about that afterwards. I'm like, I could have just done a jump and punch, but nope.
so quick tangent of from all the testing that I've done. So one, he could do it as a normal hit. If you just press it, he'll do it like a normal hit in a combo. He does the swing punch. You can combo into it, right? Then two, if you hold it, the parry is active frame one. I'm sure you've seen the clip that I posted.
Yeah, I definitely saw that.
So it is active frame one if you hold the parry. And then if you hold it all the way, it is an unblockable. So Johnny has like and option four, you can cancel out of it with his command dash. So Johnny can really use his fatal blow in 4 different ways, and I think it really adds to his character since he lost his projectile and stuff. It makes him unique, right? And that's what I love about this game so far. Every character has their unique thing, right? Like there's a lot of different quirks about characters. Some mess with the mechanics. Some have really cool stuff. It's just I'm loving the game so far. It's crazy.
Yeah, like I mean, like uh, Sindel looks like she basically is like, no, we're not playing Mortal Kombat 1. Like everything you want to do in this game, I'm like, nope, you can't do that. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
But like Wideturn mentioned too, like with Shao Kahn, Shao Kahn has that advantage of having an actual armored launcher. Like that's something unique to him. You know, that gives you a reason to play him.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And and
Yeah.
and another thing, I didn't have this on the agenda, but I do kind of want to ask you guys about like archetypes because like in MK11, it really didn't feel like they had archetypes. Like there was like characters that had command grabs, but they didn't feel like grapplers. And in this game, it looks like they're definitely trying to like have different characters do different things, which I find is like I'm really excited for that kind of thing. Like have true rushdown characters, maybe have true zoning characters. There's still so much we haven't seen about this game, and it's out in less than 2 weeks. It's crazy. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'd like wide turn. Like, what do you think about like having like actual like archetypes back, like grapper, zoner, rushdown, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely all for like variation. Like, it's going to make people gravitate towards playing a certain character. Does it have to be like, those three as far as like an archetype? I'm not really sure. It could be like, one. I mean, if you look at Sindel, like her whole I mean, I don't know if it's practical and if it will work, but her whole thing is kind of killing your cameo. So I guess she has defensive control kind of abilities, and people might gravitate towards that. It's yeah, I'm definitely for it. I think it makes people want to play certain characters for certain things. I think Kami just said that, but I totally agree with that. You
Yeah,
kind of need that for a game.
and I think there's going to be like archetypes that are kind of like Sindel would be a perfect example that are like unique to this game. Like she only works because of how Mortal Kombat 1 works. So like whole whole new archetypes kind of a thing. Ashra is another one that looks like she's kind of like a stance charge type character. Um, she looked really cool. I actually kind of wanted to mess around with her a little bit. We haven't really seen like a true grappler or a true zoner that I've seen yet. I could be misremembering something, but I don't think I've seen anything that looked quite like that. Uh, Compy, do you have any opinion on like the different archetypes or maybe some new archetypes for Mortal Kombat 1 that they're playing with?
Well, I'm glad that every character in the beta wasn't just a mid-range footsies character,
Yeah.
because that was 90% of the cast in MK11. Seriously, you could play like half the cast the exact same way in that game. It was very bland. But you know, and I like the game, but I'm still bashing it. But MK1, man, like Johnny Cage, he's no longer that mid-range footsies guy that can, throw projectiles and also rush you down. He is his strict rush down character, and I love that. And the best part about that is if you want to go full on that archetype, you can use the cameos to assist you with rush down pressure, mix ups, whatever. Or you could use cameos that kind of help you, that give you a projectile, that let you play a little bit of footsies and play that game. Maybe the Johnny cameo that might have force balls. We don't know. Something like that, right? So I love the creativity just with my time with that character alone. But the different archetypes is like such a much needed thing in MK, because they've tried to do it with the variations in MKX, but that just devolved into, okay, this character seems like it was built for this variation specifically. The other two are
Yeah.
useless compared to it. Specifically, like Grandmaster Sub-Zero. Why would you use the other two variations at all when he seems to be based around the mix-up, you know,
Right.
with Clone? So I really love the variety that we're seeing with just the 6 characters we got to play, plus some of the footage. Like Kenshi. Kenshi is the first time we're getting a puppet character in Mortal Kombat. The only thing that I know to my fighting game experience is Zato and Guilty Gear. I messed around with him a little bit. Really complex character stuff. And I tried playing Kenshi in the beta, but without a practice mode, it really didn't leave me comfortable enough to get used to him. But all his strings change when you pull out the Sento Spirit. Like, it's sick. There's so much crazy pressure stuff I saw like Hayate doing, and it just like unlocked so much potential for this game. Because if we're having, those kinds of puppet characters, we're having like true rushdown characters. Um, we're still gonna have some mid-range footsie characters, whatever. We have defensive characters like Sub-Zero. We haven't seen a true zoner yet, but with Liu Kang, I got away with murder, kind of just throwing fireballs and stuff. But I'm sure a character is gonna end up being a true zoner, and then we're gonna have a grappler. I bet someone's gotta be right. But I just think it's better for the game because you look at games like Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, whatever. Like Street Fighter, Zangief is the grappler, and he just won. I think he just won a tournament. It was insanely hyped because everyone's grapplers are low tier, whatever.
Yeah, I saw that. That's interesting.
And then Guile and JP dominating as zoners, and then you have Ken as a rushdown character. Like, it's just good for the game to have those different archetypes. Give people reasons to mess around with other characters. But like I said, the cameos play into the archetypes too. You play to your archetype strengths, or you could use it to cover your weaknesses. Like me personally, Johnny's rushdown seems really good. I'd probably use a cameo that gives him better tools in the neutral or something, like a good projectile or something.
Or like Kano Ball,
But
like that.
yeah,
That was like the most
that
busted thing I
covered.
saw. Covered
Well,
everything.
yeah, the Kano Ball covered his pressure. It let him do like 10% damage chip strings that are unsafe, but it covered him to be safe and go for like more pressure or more staggers. And then the Kano knives, obviously for combos. Everyone's seen those
Yeah, I was
50%
using
down
those
combos.
for
Yeah.
Lee May.
Yeah. But like my point stands, the archetypes are so diverse already. And like I said, I'm really excited to try out Scorpion and Kung Lao because those are some of my other favorite MK characters. And just we only got to try out 4 cameos. There are so many more.
Yeah, I know.
So like
Right.
how are they gonna change the game? I'm calling it day one. There's gonna be so much busted shit they're gonna have to nerf before a tournament, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be all in good fun. It's gonna be fun to experiment with everything, try out all the different characters, whatever.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, it's gonna be exciting, and of course, new game, new stuff, new broken stuff.
Right.
Anything to add to that, Wideturn, or
No, I think Compy spelled it out pretty good. I think I'm on the same page with that. Yeah.
so the last topic on my list is the super meter, and we've kind of touched on it on different topics already this evening. So, all in all, like, how happy are you with the new way that they're doing meter? Like the new way, like switching from MK11, where it was like auto regen, to like now where it's like you actually have to build it, and like it builds fast. Like wide turn. What are your thoughts on like the super meter and how they've kind of tweaked it here?
Yeah, when you're playing, you don't really like obviously it's there, you know how it works, but like I haven't really like stared at it while events were happening. But it seems like they've kind of learned from Injustice where like there was certain like Dr. Fate or certain characters would build tons and tons of meter from zoning, and it
Right.
felt like they were at a competitive advantage. I don't know. I didn't look at it close enough to like have a full on, I think, opinion on that because I just didn't notice it as I don't really use a zone or play really against any. But hopefully it doesn't feel that way, where like certain types of characters get rewarded more than others, and especially if they're already at an advantage while being rewarded. So hopefully, I mean that's my only concern for it. But I think how it is working now is definitely better than regen so far. Kind of like I like how it works. I've always been a fan of that kind of style where you just kind of earn it in different ways. Um, Personally, but
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like and being able to manipulate meter, like Serena's little meter drain thing. My goodness, I can't wait to get my hands on that. Like anything that manipulates meter, it's just gets me hard as a rock. Absolutely, I can't wait for it.
Quan with her is gonna be your wet dream. Honestly.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that like it already looks like she's kind of just made for him, right? Like she's like this demon thing. She's got the little rune on the ground. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
But also Shujinko, so it's like, meh. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Matchup dependent.
Yeah, see, and then there you go. So I can have like different characters with different cameos depending on the matchup, you know, that kind of thing. Compy, how'd you feel about the super meter? Any changes? Like, I think you're probably one that thinks it's an improvement over MK11.
Yeah, like I said, Fisher Price fighting game, MK11, you didn't have to think about building meter. You know, the way that I started with like MK9 and stuff competitively, you know, MK9 and MKX, you'd have to vary up your block strings like just to build a certain amount of meter. Like especially in MKX, like you know, doing chip strings with Johnny solely depended on like I had that shit mapped out to where okay, I need to do this cancel and do this, and then I build just enough meter to end with EX force ball. Just things like that is you know, the building meter and stuff rather than it coming
Right.
back on its own. Um I really like the change. I do feel like maybe it builds a little bit faster because I think this time around you do build meter uh on hit or something, or when you're taking damage. I don't remember what
When
the
you're
exact thing is,
when
but
you're dealing damage, which is
yeah, when
something
you're
that
dealing
wasn't.
damage, you're building meter. Yeah, that wasn't in previous games. So yeah, that's the only thing I feel that it made it felt like it was coming back a lot quicker. But I just love meter management. I think it's a skill in fighting games that was lost with MK11 a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I am a fan of it coming back. Maybe it builds a little too fast, but you know, they've already adjusted the cameo recharge since the first beta. So we'll see what they do with release. One thing I do want to talk about regarding Super Meter is that I'm just glad the special moves went back to how they were in MK9 and MKX,
Yes.
not the enhanced BS. Because the biggest thing about that, and I keep using Johnny as an example, but like in MKX, right, if you want to commit to doing force balls on block, if you did a regular force ball, that was like minus 12. You're getting punished for it, right?
Yep.
So you needed to make sure you did EX force balls. And the opponent knew that. Then, you know, they're like, okay, they're committing to EX force balls. He's plus, or he did regular, I can punish. In MK11, it became a guessing game where you could just throw one force ball and then they don't act on it because they're scared of the second one potentially coming out. It's the same with Injustice, right?
Yeah, meter burn.
But yeah, the meter burn. So then, you know, then in MK11, you didn't even need to burn meter. I was getting away doing regular Rising Star on block. That's like minus 15 or something because they're just so ready for me to do the EX version after it, you know, meter burning it.
Yeah,
So
and it didn't become so much of a read, more as it was just a reaction to you, or trying to react to you
yeah.
not doing it, and then they missed the punish because
Oh,
reaction was.
the biggest example, Scorpion. How many times have you blocked a Scorpion teleport in MK11 and you go to punish it and then he fucking meter
Totally.
burns it and
Yeah.
launches you? I hate that shit.
Can't.
I
Yeah.
hated that. So this time around, if a Scorpion teleports, they commit to the EX version. You know that you can punish it. If, you know, Johnny Cage does whatever, I guess well, I guess he doesn't have force balls this time around, but none of that stupid Liu Kang BS. You know, in MK11, you got to worry about Liu Kang stringing to low fireball or low fireball, then the EX.
Yep.
You know, getting tagged by that. There's none of that. They got to commit to the special move this time around, and I feel
Yeah, I
like
like
I just feel like that's an injustice thing because push block and whatever, but like it just didn't belong in MK. It made MK11 feel weird. Like there was no risk. There was no risk to doing shit on block. I don't know. And especially since your meter automatically refilled in that game, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm glad to see them reverting back to more of their classic roots in NRS. You know, the MK9, MKX way of doing things. And I feel like that was a big theme for this game while keeping MK11's quality of life improvements.
Yeah, and
So,
you were kind of saying, you kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, Wideturn, about like the flip of the coin kind of a thing, and I feel like that's kind of like what this is where like you commit or you don't. You know, there's not like the okay, I did this move, but now do I enhance it? So like, do you have the same mentality when it comes to that?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I didn't actually even think about that until I haven't had much time to like think about that.
That's fair.
Are there really no other moves that you can like do one version and then depending on the timing of it, like I guess enhance it later?
So
There's
far that
like
we've seen, no. Like it's all been like you either do the regular move or you do the enhanced one. Now in MKX they had a couple outliers. Like one was Quan Chi's Ruin. He could just do the regular and he could delay the enhance, and then the more he delayed it, the more plus he was. Or he could enhance it right away and be -1, but there was no gap there. So I don't know if they'll
right.
bring something like that back with like specific moves, but I believe all the moves that we've seen that we've been able to get our hands on so far have been like hard commit or not kind of a.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
like Rain kind of has weird stuff like that in this game. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but like he can like hold things that are like he can enhance it or he can do it normally. I know it's like not after he doesn't like follow up with an enhance,
Right.
but like there's a lot of layers to like a single the animation all pretty much look the same. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see how that kind of fits in because it kind of has that vibe where it feels almost like the layers of enhance, but yeah, I definitely prefer it. Like, I don't, maybe this is just a personal kind of opinion, but yeah, I prefer not having to guess on getting hit with a spawn second fireball.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You
yeah,
go to punish
That's
and
a
then it
big
just
one.
boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one I forgot about. Yep.
yeah, that one's that was like in my opinion that was like the loudest one because like it's like when is it my turn? You just get bullied in the corner.
Three, four,
Yeah, and then
four
he
Yeah,
and then
fireball.
like my variation of spawn had the plasm pool, which like increased your like meter regen. So like if he got you
yeah,
in the corner, he just kind of always had the option. As long as that pool was up, you're always guessing between like the
yeah.
enhanced and the regular. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't, even though I abused it, I don't miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, there is kind of a version of that in this with cameos. However,
Right.
if you call in the cameo, you can still like hit the cameos for like a happy birthday, and there's also a visual tell and like a sound cue that the cameo's coming in. Because like most ambush cameos, you kind of have to call in while you're doing something.
Right.
It's not like you could do it and then you call in the cameo and it's instant.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's still there. You can still use cameos to cover up unsafe things on block if you have an ambush and whatever. However, it's not like MK11 or Injustice where you do a special move and then they gotta guess if you're gonna meter burn because you know that cameo's coming in. There's a sound cue, visual cue, everything else, and you can armor out of it too this time around. So it's
Yeah.
like you know,
Also, shout outs to NRS for all their accessibility stuff that they've put into this game.
no
I've
for
seen
real.
like they've worked really hard, and I think Rattlehead actually helped them out with that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
saw he went to the studios on Twitter. They were helping. I saw he was a big, he was helping a lot with the sound cues and stuff for a bunch of things. Because I think they added like visual descriptions for like fatalities in this too.
Totally, and like you can actually like they have that. I think we heard it in one of the combat casts. There was like a little kind of, or maybe it was a stress test. I can't remember. There's like a slight beeping noise that got like faster the closer you were to your opponent. Like
yeah.
that's
Like
super cool.
proximity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Because I remember I was doing a lesson with a blind member of the community, and I asked him like, how do you know exactly where you are like on the screen? And he's like, usually I just block a projectile, and like I can hear like when it launches to like when it hits my block, and I can kind of guess how far I am.
That's amazing.
I was like, that's incredible talent, but that's also not an optimal way to do it because you have to block a projectile every time. So like
Mm-hmm.
having
Yeah.
like that, I don't know. It's I don't know how other fighting games are doing it, but it just seems like NRS is like super toned in on that a little bit more so than others, perhaps. But I don't know much
Right.
about Tekken. I don't know much about Street Fighter, so I could be talking out my ass on that one. But it's just good to see, regardless. The more people that can get their hands on the game and play the game at a high level, I'm all for.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
super
that's
cool.
yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know about the beeping thing. I'm assuming that's somewhere in the settings, but I did notice in in videos that there was fatal blow and fatality visual description. So I think that's really neat for, accessibility purposes, and I love that more games are just, you know, working with players to implement these things so more
Yeah.
people can enjoy it.
Yeah, the more the merrier. It's a classic saying. There's just it's gonna be so fun to watch the meta change on this game because there's so many different ways it could go, and so many different things you could do, and then it's gonna be like like it always is. You see one person, like one top player, doing one thing in a tournament, and then everybody starts doing that thing, and then somebody finds out the counter to that thing, and somebody else starts doing another thing, and then I just love watching it change and evolve over time. It's one of my favorite things.
I know I already experienced that with the beta. Like, day one, I was getting rocked by every Sub-Zero because I'm like, this is bullshit, dude. I fucking hate Ice Clone. It's back, whatever. And then I'm watching Ninja Killa, and he's just shadow kicking, like, using his meter for armored shadow kicks on reaction to clone every time to just push
That's
him
what
to
I
the
was doing with
corner.
Lee May, like just
I
armor
know.
through it. As soon as I see it,
And
armor through it.
I know. I was just like, why was I not doing that? But then again, then you don't have your combo potential. But then that's where cameos can come into play to combo where you use your meter for armor instead. And
Right.
there's a whole meta to that. But it's just like I found myself making these like meta adjustments over like just a weekend. I can't wait to play the full game.
Gonna be nuts. That being said, that brings us to the end of our time together. So thank both of you
Of course.
for coming on. Appreciate you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, check out Kompetitor on the YouTube. Any you want a quick plug real quick? What are you gonna be doing, Kompetitor?
I'm gonna be doing a lot of combo guides for Johnny Cage and other characters that I may be playing on release. Gonna cover, base combos first and then add on the meta cameos as things kind of evolve. Just general fighting game guides for the game and everything too. And I also will be continuing my Metafy. So if you guys want training, later on in the game, probably I'll start that up a month in when I get used to it and all the mechanics and whatnot. I'll definitely be training people, teaching anything from basics with frame data to how to do combos up to advanced, competitive player strategies for tournaments. So you can find all that linked on my channel as well. But yeah.
I'll link down to that in the description down below. And any last words, Wideturn? Are you working on anything? Anything you want to plug?
No, I do not have any plugs, but if anyone's going to ECT, there's like a tournament, a pretty big tournament in New Jersey. Like it's a day one tournament. Please come say hi. I'll be probably traveling around competing. So
Nice. When's that New Jersey tournament?
I believe it's the game comes out the 14th. It's the 16th. It's like right outside of New York City, like right outside the Lincoln Tunnel. Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, they always have like 40 plus people play, but there's some really big names. I think Gurr
Yeah, it's
and
gonna be huge.
Splash and just like tons of big competitor in the scene. So it should be fun.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you, and thank you all for listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like because it really helps me out, and subscribe if you haven't, because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks and all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.